How did Nancy Pelosi take back the House using it? And why did she use it if she's such a brilliant tactician? She used it and won. And how did Trump use the same message and win just 4 years ago? I'll leave you a second to think about that. Rush calls her Andrea Mitchell, left-leaning full-time Democrat activist pretending to be a journalist on MSNBC. Here is her panicking on live TV here, talking about how the Hunter Biden thing we now have receipts for. No, I don't mean receipts in the way because Paula hates that. Like, I mean, we have an actual receipt in the Hunter Biden case, a receipt signed by Hunter Biden. Here's her calling the story with zero evidence whatsoever, calling the story a conspiracy theory. That's what they do when they freak out. Check this out.
The whole lock them up, false conspiracy theories against the Bidens really is stunning. I mean, he could be talking about the economy and making false claims about that, but, blame it on COVID. He could be talking about a Supreme Court nominee who is popular with his base and what they've done with the courts. Yet he's going after, these Rudy Giuliani created, false plots that we now have learned could well be tied to Russian intelligence, because Giuliani was wittingly or unwittingly meeting with Russian intelligence agents, people who've been designated by the U.S. government as such.
Hat tip Newsbusters for that. Ladies and gentlemen, the woman's a complete joke and an embarrassment, Andrea Mitchell. She always has been. She's really a disgrace to journalists, to anybody claiming her, the media outfit she works for. She's just an embarrassing person. I'm sorry, she is. She has zero evidence this is a conspiracy theory at all. We have a ton of evidence that, in fact, the theory is, in fact, not a theory, but a fact that the Biden crime family's been up to no good overseas. And Andrea Mitchell's not interested in getting to the bottom of that for a very simple reason. She's not a serious person. She's a full-time Democrat activist operating as a tool of the Democrat Party to help get her preferred Biden crime family surrogate, Joe Biden, elected. It's as simple as that. Now, why does Andrea Mitchell tout the talking point I just warned you about? That honestly, some conservatives have picked up too, including a friend of mine who does contributor work at Fox, Mark Thiessen, who's a good guy, but I think he's wrong. He said, people don't care about the Hunter Biden story. That is absolutely wrong. While I agree with his premise that should not be the sole focus of the campaign, he's right. The economy, law and order, public safety, healthcare are all important issues too, very important issues. Ladies and gentlemen, abuse of power stories are incredibly destructive to the candidate involved in them. Let me explain to you why. I hate telling this because listen, I went to graduate school. Look how smart I am. Forget it. I'm just telling you this, but some small bona fides. I spent a couple of years in graduate school studying psychology. I loved it. Okay. And I remember specifically discussing one of these research studies they do with animals. And one thing animals, human beings included, with the animal kingdom, we all understand and hate more than anything is they hate the idea that they're getting screwed over, that there's a power inequity, right? The research study I was talking about, if I screw it up a little bit, I'm sorry. It was years ago. I got out of school, over a decade ago with that. But they do this study where if you give an animal a certain amount of food and another animal a less amount of food, and the other animal sees it, that other animal loses its mind, even if the other animal's totally full. You get what I'm saying? Like, you give that other animal all the food it wants, but you give the other one more, even if the animal stops eating because he's full, he's still pissed off that you gave the other animal more. I'm not kidding. I forget if it was a study with chimps or dogs. I don't remember exactly, but I remember thinking about it like, gosh, that's so true. Like, people and animals both inherently understand inequity and they hate it. They don't like it. The fact that someone who had a power inequity, right? Joe Biden, vice president, has significantly more power than you or I or Paula or Joe or Drew or anyone else, and anyone listening pretty much other than the president. You're the number 2 executive official in the entire country. The fact that power was abused to leverage financial dealings that benefited his family, everybody understands that, and everyone hates it. That's why Andrea Mitchell had tip Rush Limbaugh. That's why Andrea Mitchell's so terrified of this story. He's like, it's a conspiracy theory. Stop talking about it. Talk about the economy and stuff. Andrea Mitchell's giving the Republicans advice. Please, seriously hard pass. Take the football, hard pass, spiral down the field. Mitchell knows this story's devastating. You think she's trying to help the Republicans? Hey, stay away from this. Nobody really cares. And as I said, the fact that some conservatives are buying this line is just silly. Do you get what I'm saying, folks? Does this make sense? Power inequity and abuse of that power stories. You get it, Joe. Everybody hates that. Everybody's been screwed over by a boss, screwed over by a colleague, screwed over by a neighbor who had influence with the town council. They hate those stories. That's what Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family did on a mass scale for millions of dollars while his dad was the number 2 most powerful executive official in the entire country, probably the world. They've been sold out, people. They know they've been sold out, and they hate it. And folks, let me just remind you, again, for the conservatives falling in this trap that, no, don't focus on Hunter Biden. No, focus on Hunter Biden. Not to the exclusion of other things, but yeah, bring it up. If this message, abuse of power, was not a powerful one, let me ask you a question. Who first ran in modern politics in the last 2 decades? Who first ran on the drain the swamp message? Who? A lot of you listening, especially some of the younger folks, probably say, oh, that was Trump. Trump did that, drain the swamp. Right, Joe? You would think he did. You're not wrong. Trump did run on a drain the swamp message. But I'd like you to go to the internet and put in a search engine, Nancy Pelosi drained the swamp when she took over during the Bush era, control of the House of Representatives for the first time in a while. That was her message. Literally her message, drain the swamp. So I just ask you again, if power inequities, swamp-like politics where people leverage their power to destroy the livelihood of the common man and take advantage of their power to enrich themselves while de-enriching you, if that wasn't a powerful message, how did Nancy Pelosi take back the House using it? And why did she use it if she's such a brilliant tactician? She used it and won. And how did Trump use the same message and win just 4 years ago? I'll leave you a second to think about that. Because it's a powerful message. And that's why Andrea Mitchell and her MSNBC overlords that are full-time Democrat activists are so panicked about the Hunter Biden story.
You just heard Dan Bongino.